Good evening. Welcome to Let's Talk Dinosaurs. I am your beautiful host, South Africa's sweetheart, Billy Reed, coming at you live once again from the IUS University Center, Horizon Radio, just down the hall from the campus police. I can't even remember what I'm saying anymore because I'm just so excited because it's our Halloween special, guys.
Low-key,
I'm so
I think
excited.
you're
Spooky.
low-key just ASMRing the whole thing.
Everyone. Dinosaurs, guys. If you want, I can, I don't know. I've seen a couple of those ASMR videos. I know they talk like this. They like to make those scratching sounds and all that stuff. But anyway, let's get back on track here. So yeah, our Halloween specials today. I am Billy, as always, joined by my regular hosts. Why don't you guys tell them who you are for the fourth week in a row?
I am Kirsten.
I am Charlie.
And we got a special guest tonight. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, it's Maggie. For all of you who do not know, I run a show, and it premieres, well, not premieres, but it goes on tomorrow at 10 a.m., and it's Things Unknown. If you want to follow me on Twitter, that's things_unknown_. Low-key forgot what underscore was. I was like, unders things. So, yeah.
Self-promo.
Yeah, like, to get my own self-promo wrong. Anyway, yeah, that's me, and it's all about ghosts, cryptids, and other creepy things like the Pope-like monster, which I think is real, and we need to have him on as a guest.
Yeah, so
I would love
obviously Maggie's show ties into our topic for tonight because we've established this before. Dinosaurs are totally extinct, right? Well,
Are they, though?
are they? Tonight we're going to be talking about sightings of living dinosaurs. I've been so excited for this for weeks now.
This is going to be so much fun.
The
Oh, I know,
government
this
I'm
is
is
gonna be
so
fighting
down
them.
for this.
We have a lot of ground to cover here, guys.
I'm ready.
So,
Dish it out. Let's go.
Rock and roll.
Hope you're ready for this one because we have a lot of stuff to talk about. So,
Excited.
first things first, we got to introduce everybody here to a bit of a dirty word in the scientific community. So this is right up your alley, Kirsten.
Shut up, Billy. I knew you were going to say something.
That's a mean word. Please don't tell him that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's one of the 7 words.
Oh, yeah.
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 More than
Okay.
7 now.
So anyway, before we get into the real juicy bits of our spooky Halloween special, we gotta give everybody a briefing on cryptozoology.
Oh, that is a bad word in the scientific community.
A very bad word in the
Oh.
scientific community.
You're practically you're shutting yourself off from the scientific community now.
So
Bring
anyway, excuse me. But anyway, so cryptozoology is the study of cryptids. Now, cryptids are animals that people report seeing, but there's no like real tangible evidence that they exist. Some of the more famous examples include Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, and the Chupacabra.
Chupacabra.
I do have a way that we can figure out if the Loch Ness Monster exists, though.
But it
Because
doesn't.
it does.
But it doesn't.
It does.
It does not.
Here we go.
Yes, he's out
Okay,
there.
here. Let me just like throw it out here. Drink Loch Ness.
I don't want to.
I'll do it. I volunteer as tribute.
Oh, drink Loch Ness. I get it.
Give me a
I don't know.
straw.
I was like, what? You can't drink the Loch Ness Monster. What are you talking about?
That's what you think, but you'd be surprised.
Well, I mean, like, okay, so scientists have like recently said that it might be just like a giant catfish.
Yeah,
Or it could be a
that
plesiosaur.
makes-
Or that.
Except it couldn't.
This
Because
is like the equivalent of Jurassic Park 3.
well, you see,
I've
the-
seen
He's picked up
Scooby Doo
the
and the
mic.
Loch Ness
He's
Monster.
picked up
I
the
know
mic.
the evidence.
It wasn't
It
even.
is
It
real.
wasn't even a plesiosaur in that movie.
It was in the end. Spoiler alert, by the way.
It's okay.
How dare you spoil Scooby Doo and the Loch Ness Monster, Charlie?
It's the best.
How dare you?
Scooby-Doo.
But
Okay.
actually, let's just get that one right out of the way. The Loch Ness Monster couldn't be a plesiosaur because we now know that plesiosaurs' necks were very limited in their movement, and they couldn't do that swan neck thing that the Loch Ness Monster does in all of its photos. They would break their necks if they did that. So,
How about the like
But anyway.
Russian ladies?
huh?
The Russian ladies.
What
What?
Russian ladies?
They're aliens.
Huh?
She is too far in the conspiracies.
Yeah.
Lost her.
Okay. So anyway, so cryptids and dinosaurs are a bit of a Venn diagram, but there's obviously that little overlappy section in the middle because witnesses around the world report seeing dinosaurs, believe it or not. And surviving a mass extinction like an asteroid hitting the Earth is totally plausible. I mean, alligators and crocodiles did it. Sharks have been around for millions of years before the dinosaurs ever were. Cockroaches are prehistoric. Turtles are still out there, so on and so forth. There are lots of animals alive today that have been here since well before the dinosaurs were.
Making a good case. Making a good case.
Liking this evidence.
I mean, like
So-
I mentioned earlier, even though this is like pre-dinosaurs, the megalodon that they found in Challenger Deep.
I believe a megalodon.
Well, I mean,
By
like
the way,
they literally
Megalodon
have,
was real, though.
they
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
have a video.
Jason
No, I mean, like, I believe
Statham
it's
saw
still-
one.
Yeah,
around.
Yeah, like they literally have a video of it. Like,
Sorry, we just had some of our adoring fans walk by the station. So
We love you too. I hope to hear that.
I hope they did too. But anyway, yeah. So megalodon's a fish, so we're not going to be talking about that.
okay, but like dinosaur fish.
Megalodon lived during the Ice Age.
I know we had this discussion earlier.
Yeah,
I
we
said even
did.
though it's pre-dinosaur,
It's probably
It's
going to be an argument this
post-dinosaur.
whole time. It's
kinda
between Billy and
gonna-
Maggie.
it's kinda
Stop
gonna
fighting.
be.
You're tearing
Yeah.
the family apart.
I'm
This is
just
like
a
some
kid.
Tommy was so you're tearing me apart, Maggie. Right here. So anyway, let's get into our first dinosaur cryptid. This is a pretty famous one. This comes from Africa in the Congo rainforest.
Wait, is this my boy?
Your boy. Oh, yeah. Anyway, this is the Mokale Mbembe. It's described as a long-necked dinosaur, which is also known as a sauropod, is that family of dinosaurs, the long necks. It's like Brachiosaurus, Brontosaurus, all those. And it's been a thing in native folklore in the Congo for centuries. The name Mokale Mbembe means he who stops the flow of rivers.
Awesome.
I
So-
love the name. Like, without the meaning,
Well,
I love
'cause-
how the name
yeah.
sounds.
He's an absolute unit.
He's his own
So-
hype
Oh,
now.
he
Yeah.
is a eunuch. Do we have a picture of the boy? I'm gonna get a picture of the boy.
I put it
So we
on
can
our
show on the
thingy.
radio.
Where
It's the
is
bottom
it?
picture.
Yeah, see? Very bottom.
Yeah. Is that not your boy?
He's not as unitish as I thought he
She
would
sounds
be.
disappointed.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I mean, like,
Well, I'll find a unit-ish picture and I'll put it on our Instagram later.
thank you.
Anyway, so according to the natives in the Congo, the Mokale Mbembe spends most of its time in the water. They say it's an herbivore, it eats plants, but they say it's extremely territorial. There are a lot of natives who have stories of this thing like attacking fishing boats, and they say that it'll often get in fights with hippos and elephants. They say this is like the only animal in the jungle that elephants are afraid of.
it's the Conor McGregor of cryptids.
Smashing that
I love
tour
that.
busing window.
Good job, Charlie. That was a
Thank
good
you.
one.
I did-
Very excellent reference, Charlie.
Yeah, that was a good reference.
Except he wins.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
Yikes. Ooh.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
So anyway, the Mokale Mbembe is generally a very scary thing. I mean, sauropod dinosaurs, those are the biggest animals to ever walk the earth. So imagine one of those popping up from underneath your canoe in the middle of the river. In
That
the
would be
Congo.
quite
That
a
is-
journey.
that
That'd be quite a
is-
story.
That'd be
Honestly,
very
what I
scary.
want to experience in my life.
And like most of the sightings of this thing take place like near rivers and lakes. There's a really big lake in the Congo, Lake Tele, I think is what it's called. Like that's like the epicenter for sightings of this thing.
Oh, okay.
But we'll get into that when I talk about the evidence before and
road
against.
We're going to the
Next time,
Congo.
So anyway.
let's talk dinosaurs.
Let's get into some actual sightings here.
Okay.
I got a couple here. So this first one here is from a German expedition in the Congo rainforest in 1939. The expedition was traveling down the river, and they claimed to see this thing come out of the water and get into a fracas with a hippo. But then,
Big mood.
as they got a little too close to it, it ran out of the river and retreated into the jungle. So they didn't get too good of a look at it, but any day you get to see a dinosaur fighting a hippo, that's
That's
Yeah.
quite
I
a
call
day.
that a good day.
That's a good day.
I
Big
call
mood,
that I
though.
call that a pretty good day.
On
But
my days off, I
anyway,
like to fight hippos.
obviously.
Yep. I mean, look at my size. I can just take them in like one go.
Hippos kill more people a year than any other
You
animal.
can't see it,
Fun
but
fact.
Maggie is totally jacked. like straight yoked.
Like rocks.
Straight yoked.
So anyway, another sighting that I found is from a group of British travelers.
Oh no.
Britain.
Please don't.
Leaving the studio.
So you got Roy. Their names are Roy and Powell Mackle.
They sound like absolute units.
Probably were. They probably were. They had Cockney accents too.
Oh, yep.
So
Definitely units.
anyway, while traveling through the rainforest, they spotted the creature on the banks of the Congo River. They estimated that this thing was around 45 feet long, and they actually turned tail and ran when they saw this thing, because I wouldn't want to go near it myself.
Yeah, that would. Seeing a dinosaur versus being attacked by a dinosaur, is that a good day still, or is that?
I mean, I call that a good day, especially if I get like seriously injured.
Right?
You'd have a story to tell.
All
Exactly.
right, well,
like, you know, like I have no leg
you're at the
anymore.
bar.
Like, how did you lose your leg? Oh, dinosaur.
that's true. That
Yeah.
that is a story.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, oh, I fell.
Right. Like,
Dinosaur crushed it. Like
exactly. Like, you'd be in a hospital for like 80 months.
80 months.
Yeah.
So anyway, and the final sighting that I wanted to talk about here is from 1983. A biologist on a scientific expedition in the Congo claims to have seen the creature near Lake Tele and actually observed it for 20 minutes before it went back into the jungle. So that's pretty interesting. I mean, getting to observe a dinosaur for 20 minutes.
I feel like I'm gonna need some like proof though.
I'm sold.
Yeah, well...
I feel like I'm
He's
gonna
like,
need
"Yep,
some
that happened."
videos. I'm gonna need to talk to some
Well,
of
you
the
know,
people.
there are a couple of photos that I found when I was doing my research, but none of them were really conclusive for me.
Like
I
the
can't believe
legible,
it.
like.
No, like they all looked like they could be like a log or like maybe just like a hippo or a
Oh,
crocodile
okay.
or something that someone thought
Wouldn't
was
it be
a
funny if the
dinosaur.
scientist was like, "Oh, I see a dinosaur. It's like a log for 20 minutes." It's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, what's it doing?"
I shouldn't have ate those mushrooms back there.
Well, and you
Yeah.
know, there was the most recent sighting I found when I did my research was actually from 2015, but I didn't want to put it on here because I thought it was pretty
sketch.
unremarkable. It was from a game warden who was out on Lake Tele in a canoe, and he said that he saw a big head come out of the water, look at him, and then go back down.
I mean, that's pretty sketch to me.
Yeah, that's
a big head, not like a body to it, just like a head.
yeah. He just
Like,
saw,
what kind of
a
head are we talking
on a
about,
log
sir?
Like a
head.
baby head.
Oh, that would scare me, honestly. Like,
No, that would scare me too, especially
Yeah.
like a giant dinosaur head.
but I mean, like, if it was like in the middle of the night, though, I mean, it could have been anything.
Right.
You know?
That's true, and you
Yeah.
know what I got thinking is that
Like
you
a
know,
hippo.
well, you know what else lives in the Congo is elephants. So I
Right,
thought, like,
like-
what if he didn't see a head? What if he saw like a trunk of an elephant? Because like elephants swim in the water sometimes.
And they
Yeah,
just stick
like-
that trunk up and they
Right. Like,
they
I mean,
wander
there's
around.
so many things that it could be. You know, like, this is like why I had like an issue with like believing a lot of the stuff from like Stardust Ranch. I feel like even though there's photos and videos and stuff, I feel like they could all either be easily faked or they could be something else.
Yeah.
So I feel like
That's why they're sketch.
exactly.
Side note: what is Stardust Ranch? Because I've never heard of this.
Stardust Ranch is like where the aliens are. Actually, they're not even aliens. It's like,
Is it similar to Skinwalker Ranch?
oh, I meant Skinwalker Ranch. I'm
Oh.
sorry. I
Stardust Ranch is like a good brand for like a ranch company.
Yeah.
Stardust Ranch is the alien version of Skinwalker.
like, galaxy-inspired ranch company.
Right?
Yeah, but like Skinwalker Ranch, like the government like bought it, so like, and they're studying it, so that makes me kind of believe it. But like, you know, all the photos are like, bruh, that could be like,
Bruh.
Reasonable.
But in case you're wondering, Skinwalker Ranch is basically this ranch out in the Southwest, which is supposedly like a big hot spot for like UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, that kind of thing.
Like Hopkinsville.
So yeah, pretty much. So it's just got a lot of spooky reputations
Yeah.
surrounding it. So, but anyway, so the evidence for and against Mokele Mbembe. Well, let's talk about the big one, I think, is that this thing has existed in native folklore for centuries. And there are isolated tribes out in the Congo where if you go out there and you show them like photos, like a group of scientists that I came across in my research, they went out to one of these tribes and they showed them photos of a bunch of animals to try to cover all their bases, make sure this thing wasn't misidentified. They showed them like a rhino, an elephant, a hippo, and a crocodile. And like they were just like, no, that's an elephant. No, that's a hippo. But then when they showed them a dinosaur, like a sauropod dinosaur, they said, yes, that's it. That's the Mokele Mbembe. And that that's almost some good evidence for me, because like those hunters and those tribes out in the isolated parts of the jungle,
Like,
they are raised to know every single animal on their land, and if they look at that thing and say yes, that's it, of course that could have just been staged, but
Right. I mean, that's like pretty good evidence for me though, because like, you know, I tend to
Yeah.
It
believe
doesn't make
the
me
native
believe
people.
it, but I'm like,
I see your point.
I can.
New
Right,
theory.
like-
At a certain point.
They're
if I have
all
to
in
lie.
on the prank. Like kid comes into this world like, "Hi, to me. I'm your mom. I'm your dad.
Well, I mean,
and this
look
is
at-
Mokelim Mbele. It's our prank. Don't tell anyone."
That's,
well, I mean,
like,
look at the Mothman in Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Like that's such a tourism draw out there.
but like, have you
So-
seen the booty on that statue?
The Mothman statue I
what?
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, it
there's a
is.
really muscular Mothman
It's thick.
statue
Mm.
in Point
It's like
Pleasant,
a
West
rock.
Virginia.
I do have to say it's pretty thick.
But anyway, so to get into some more scientific evidence for the Mokalema Bembe, a lot of species of sauropod dinosaurs were actually native to Africa. There haven't been any fossils found near the Congo because fossilization in rainforesty jungle areas is kind of hard to do. But we do know that a lot of dinosaurs were native to the African continent, so it's not entirely out of the question that maybe one of them could have survived and evolved into the present day. But okay, let's get to the evidence against. So if these things are as big as the eyewitnesses say they are, which by the way, I didn't talk about this, eyewitnesses are incredibly inconsistent with how big these things are supposed to be. And I
Okay.
mean very inconsistent. Like
Because they're babies and there's big boys.
those two British guys before said they were like 40, 50 feet long. There are some that say like they're only as big as an elephant. Some that say like they're only about as big as a hippo. Some that say they're like 60 feet tall. And yeah, there's a lot of
Maybe
inconsistency
some people, like,
here.
when I look at that door over there, I'm like, that's like 500 feet away.
Well,
Like, I
you
don't
know-
know feet. Like, I can't look at something and be like, that's X amount of feet away.
For the first time in my college career, I'm finally going to be able to use my psychology major. So
There you go.
when you get dealing with cryptid stories, there's this pesky little thing called confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Where when you
Yeah.
get a bunch of people out in the jungle and they see something that scares them, in their mind, they're going to blow it way out of proportion of what it already is. That's why, like, you hear stories about Bigfoot. Some people will say Bigfoot's like 3 feet tall. Other people will say Bigfoot's like 20 feet tall.
Yeah.
It's because you get so scared when you see something that you don't understand.
body's
that
like,
your
"Oh my
mind,
gosh."
yeah, your mind starts going faster than you can keep up with,
Yeah.
and you end up seeing things that aren't entirely true. Which is why I think a lot of these inconsistencies can add up to. But with these creatures being so big, surely a population of them would have been found by now.
That's like
if
my
they're that
biggest
big.
thing.
And another one, to get into more like the fossil record, actual science here, there is absolutely 100% no evidence that sauropod dinosaurs were swimmers. Like, all these people say they've seen this thing, like, in the water, like, swimming like a hippo. There's as a matter of fact, there's plenty of evidence against sauropods being swimmers.
Yeah, I can see that their anatomy isn't the best suited for it.
Yeah.
What if they just like created this story for like the native villagers to be like, oh, kids, don't go out to the rivers because there's
that's a good possibility.
yeah, that
Right.
kind of thing.
But
Because there's a lot of
the-
cultures that do
but
that.
a lot of the isolated tribes still believe that this thing exists, and
Well, like
it could just be
couldn't-
coincidental that this boogeyman creature they made up just resembles an actual dinosaur.
Yeah.
But
Or it could be a dinosaur evolved in 65 million years and became a swimmer.
that's also true. That's also
I like the
true.
clicking noise.
But I just don't, especially
It's
for that
hard to
kind of,
convince me of
especially for
that.
that kind of environment. Like if it was more of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a swampy aquatic environment, I could see that. But this is a rainforest. Like elephants and rhinos live here. I know hippos live here too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So Mokalema Bembe, I'm gonna say, guys, what do you say? Real or no real?
I say real because that's what I'm going to say this whole show.
I say inconclusive.
Okay,
I'm
agree,
leaning towards
agree.
inconclusive, but for now I say not real.
Okay, so
Sorry,
Full
Charlie.
spectrum.
I'm sorry.
What do you say, Billy?
I'm gonna say it's like let's go like a 60-40 with it leaning a little bit more towards it not being real.
Okay, that's decent.
Yeah.
Y'all are
Charlie's like,
unbelievers.
no.
Okay, so let's get
It's
into
real.
let's get into a good one here.
Partridge?
This is one of
Ooh.
this is one of my favorite ones that I found. This is called the Partridge Creek Beast.
I think this is pretty much my boy.
Charlie, all your boys.
This
They're
is
all my
a-
boys, but
this is
this
a
one I
cre-
think is my oldest son, and I love him. He's like
So,
Kim Jong-un.
This is a creature that was sighted in the Yukon Territory in Canada, and it's described as a meat-eating dinosaur, so like a T-Rex Allosaurus type of thing. And As always, the size of it is very inconsistent. Some people were saying it's actually only known by 2 sightings, but it was sighted by a good chunk of people during those 2 times. And of the people who saw it, some were saying it was 20 feet tall, some said it was 10 feet tall, some said it was 60 feet tall. So I'm just gonna put this thing at about elephant size.
Okay.
I think that's a good estimate.
That's
And
terrifying enough for me.
a couple of the witnesses claimed it had horns, but I don't entirely believe that just based on the description of this thing. And especially because there is a known meat eater that had horns over its eyes and its nose called Ceratosaurus. But Ceratosaurus, what we know of it doesn't really fit up with the rest of this thing, even an evolved version of it, because Ceratosaurus's family actually died out around the Jurassic period. So the absence in the fossil record for this long would be a little wonky for me. But that's just my 2 cents. But here's the big one, and I'm going to get back to this when we talk about the evidence before and against. Every single witness who saw this thing claimed that it had feathers. And we're going to talk about why that's important here in a little bit.
Definitely,
but
my boy.
Let's get into the sightings here. So the first sighting, like these are actually really scary too. Like if these
Yeah.
happened to me, I would need
I mean,
therapy.
there's a picture there that you guys can't see, but it looks terrifying.
Yeah.
You won't find me in the
So-
mountains.
The first sighting came in 1903 when 2 hunters, they actually do have names. These actually are real people. I found records of these guys, but this is in Canada, so these were like really old school French names and they were really hard to pronounce. So
you
I
just
didn't
didn't
Sorry,
include
I
them.
don't
on our
believe
outline.
okay.
Canadians.
So Avril Lavigne's a Canadian, so their word is gospel for me.
Okay,
But
So
anyway,
Jack
see,
Kroger, but I mean,
I love her, but I don't trust her.
don't say that name.
Wait, what was the name?
said Chad Kroger from Nickelback.
So anyway, the
Look at
sightings.
that photograph. Wait, no, better the vine. Look at that graph.
Maggie, you're fired.
Oh, fired.
Charlie, you're fired too.
Thank you.
Because of Maggie.
So anyway, sightings. The first one was in 1903, and it was 2 hunters were tracking a herd of moose deep in the Yukon Territory woods, miles away from any towns or anything. And they were tracking a herd of moose all day, and they cornered them in a clearing.
Typical Canadians.
But anyway, these moose were suddenly spooked and ran away terrified, and they ran right past these guys. And that's a little weird for moose, because moose are very big.
I'd be like,
And,
They're massive. I didn't realize how big they were until there was a video on Instagram, and it was like 3 times the size of a car, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh no, that's
Moose
not
are- yeah,
pleasant
buddy.
right there.
Moose are humongous. And
Why?
like, in the Yukon Territory, the only things that'll hunt moose would be a pack of wolves, which usually they won't bolt like that from a pack of wolves, or a grizzly bear. So
both are not good outlooks for
yeah.
these hunters.
So, like any hunters who are clearly in the presence of some kind of predator, what did they do? They looked for it.
Of
So
course.
they,
Get your gun.
they circled the
some.
nearby woods and they found huge 3-toed clawed footprints all around the area. And they were big. Like, I think they said that these were about like 2.5, 3 feet long. So pretty big creature we're dealing with here. So anyway, the hunters returned to the forest a few days later, along with 2 Native American trackers to hunt this thing down. And they didn't find anything, but that night, the creature came to their campsite.
Don't like
And it was very
Oh, hey there,
big.
neighbor.
It was a very big meat-eating dinosaur type. So pretty scary creature.
Don't like that.
And they just sat there terrified and watched this thing.
You see, this is where I'd
For,
break out my cross and like holy water.
Well,
I
it's,
mean,
it's a
like,
dinosaur. It's not a demon.
okay, but like,
Or is it?
what? Like, it might have been.
It's the
Theory.
ghost of a T-Rex.
Exactly.
But anyway,
It's
so,
the demon version of the T-Rex.
they said this thing kind of just hung out, checked them out for about 10 minutes, and then just wandered back into the woods. And then clearly they got the heck
Except
out
I'm
of
like,
there.
dang.
Sorry, I'm looking at Twitter for Let's Talk Dinosaurs.
I have a fan
Okay.
base now.
Yeah.
Well,
Someone said Maggie is swole. She should run the program.
yeah, that's Brad.
Oh,
Hey, Brad, thanks for listening.
Thanks for tweeting too. I'm looking at all the tweets. I'm just not saying anything.
Yeah, he's been live tweeting us this whole time, but it's a little bit much to keep up with. We appreciate it, Brad.
We do.
But,
This
it's a
episode, we
lot.
have a lot this episode.
We do have
Trying
a
to
lot.
manage.
Like, wow,
We
we're
have
already
our-
halfway through the episode. We're not even through our second thing yet.
I know.
But
We have our
anyway,
good boys.
so yeah, clearly they got the heck out of there once this creature left them alone, which I would too, because
I think I'd actually kind of stay around.
Right.
See if it comes back. Get out my video camera.
But anyway, 4 years later, one of the same hunters from earlier went back out hunting into the same woods.
Now that I
because-
would not do.
Yeah, he went back
Like-
out into the same woods.
Like, once I finally left, I would be like, nope, I'm not going back there. That's like me with Waverly Hills. Like, once I went around there, I was like, yeah, no, not happening.
Never happening again.
Yeah.
And then, like, I accidentally went around it again, and the same thing happened, and I was like, yeah, not happening again. So, we'll see when I accidentally end up there again.
Yeah, no, that place scares me.
You're gonna find her in the Yukon Territory next.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
Well, dinosaurs.
guess I
And,
ended up
I
there.
should mention, this is just a little detail I found, but this second encounter actually happened on Christmas Eve.
Oh,
Of all
Santa.
things. Well, and here's where...
Krampus.
No. Here's where...
Deutschland.
Here's where it gets
Very.
ironic. Okay, this happened on Christmas Eve, and this thing, this was on like the other side of a river, and it came out of the woods on the riverbanks, carrying a reindeer in its mouth.
No, it killed Santa.
Oh my gosh. The year Santa didn't come. Where is he at, Mom? He got eaten by a dinosaur, didn't he? I go to bed.
my dinosaur.
So naturally, this dude watched the thing for a few more minutes until
Naturally.
it left again, because that's just what they do in these stories.
See, that's like what I
And-
would do. I'd just chill and be like, hey, dude, what's up?
I
Crack
get out
open a
ASAP.
Charlie, is it your time to go?
Yeah, before I go, I just imagine like the moose from like Brother Bear singing for like, hey, that's one big beaver. Oh, I'm gone now.
Oh, good references
All right.
today, Charlie.
Bye, Charlie.
Goodbye.
Bye, Charlie.
I'm out of here.
We'll miss you.
Goodbye.
Don't get eaten by the Partridge Creek beast.
No,
That's
don't.
my goal in life. That's how I want to go out.
Right? Same.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Yukon.
Another
Let's go
road
to
trip.
Canada-
Road trip
Canada,
number 2.
eh?
Bye, Charlie.
But anyway,
Oh, wait, this happened in Canada. Never mind.
yeah, this was in Canada.
Oh, darn. I can't
So
go
anyway,
into that place. They'd beat me out so fast. I'd be making fun of them the whole time.
The hunter went over on the other side of the river after the thing left, and it left tracks identical to the ones from the previous encounter. So, excuse me, I had a little tickle there. But anyway,
Are we
so
gonna-
let's
A little tickle.
let's get into the evidence for and against. So the big one here is that they reported that this thing had feathers.
My
And
feathery boy.
here's why that's important. This was in 1903, 1907. This was a long time ago. We didn't know that dinosaurs had feathers until the 90s.
Oh, so it like
So,
adds up.
This was a long time before we even
like
knew
legit.
that dinosaurs had feathers.
That's pretty
But what if they
Convincing.
were a psychic and they made it up?
That's plausible as well. That's plausible as well.
They just sent me out into the Yukon. I was like, feathers.
So anyway, and some more scientific evidence here. A lot of large carnivores, including the T-Rex, were native to Canada. As a matter of fact, if this thing is real, I'm willing to bet that it's some sort of tyrannosaur, because a lot of tyrannosaur species have been found in Canada. There's even a tyrannosaur named Albertosaurus, because it was found in Alberta, Canada. So that if this thing is real, I'm willing to bet that it at least was a tyrannosaur. And the final evidence for it that I have here is the Yukon is a big place. It's
Yeah.
a big remote place, not a lot of people, a lot of places to hide.
Exactly. The
So-
government can't even get into it. So, like, why would we be able to? The Americans.
So maybe this T-Rex is just out there for tax evasion,
Right. In the cursed lands.
I love that.
just living off the fat of the land.
That's where I'd be going, honestly. Except I'd sneak into Area 51 personally. I'm gonna get my
Well,
answers, you know.
Maybe this T-Rex is an Area 51 because after 1907, it was mysteriously never seen again.
Okay, but like that could just be like hibernation period.
Well, again, that doesn't really add up for me, because animals that are adapted to live in cold weather all year long don't really hibernate.
Okay, but like what if it did?
I mean, it could.
Exactly.
But still, I don't know. That just doesn't add up for me. And
Kirsten's on my
the fact that it's the same guy who saw it twice
Okay,
just
but like
makes it a little fishier for me.
but other people saw it too.
Yeah, other people saw it the first time, but the second time it was just that one guy
Oh, poor dude. He might have been having like sleep paralysis.
in the middle of the woods.
Just walking through.
Well, I mean, he saw this dinosaur carrying a reindeer in its mouth on Christmas Eve, so that does seem a little fishy.
What if he
So-
like fell asleep standing up and he was like, "Oh no,
I'm for a real one.
the feathery boy comes
Yeah.
back."
The giant emu boy, he's back for my soul.
Do you think he would lay in bed at night and be like, oh no, not again, and just...
I think it would have been a recurring nightmare. Like, you know how some people, like, always have, like, you hear about those common sleep paralysis of people who see, like, aliens and ghosts hovering above their bed. I'd like to think with this guy, it's like a giant T-Rex head peering through his window.
Big mood.
Like that one scene in The Lost World where there's the T-Rex in the backyard and it's like peering in through the kid's window. Sorry, Jurassic Park reference of the day. But anyway, and another one here for evidence against it. It's unlikely that an ecosystem like this could sustain a population of predators that large, which would lead me into my theory here. I think that if this thing is real, it's extinct. And
I don't know. I'm rooting for him.
Well,
I
the fact
think
that there
he
were
can
only
do it.
2 sightings of it, I feel like when these guys sighted it, this species must have been on its last leg. Like, the ecosystem couldn't sustain them anymore. They couldn't keep up with the ever-changing climate and everything. And I feel like if this species was real, it had to be some kind of unknown tyrannosaur, and they've got to be no longer with us.
I don't know.
So-
I feel like I really root for him. I think they can do it.
I mean, I'm rooting for him, too. I hope he's real, but...
I hope he's thriving.
Yeah, like, I hope he's just, like, kicking it.
I do agree with Billy. Like, that's my answer. That's my conclusion. I think that they did exist, but they're extinct.
I don't know.
That's what I think.
I'm gonna really just go out on a limb and say I think it's real. I think that's the only thing that we have to, defeat the Canadian menace.
What if it's all like a conspiracy and the Canadian government is
They just want them to be
run by
afraid, or
dinosaurs?
they want us to be afraid.
Oh my God, that's it.
That's
That's
really
it.
good. And then they talked about Christmas. They're like,
Right, like,
"You'll eat your reindeer."
Right, like,
Santa beware.
yeah, Canada just wants us to not have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Canada, they've had it too good for too long. Just
Sorry,
kidding. If we
Canada.
have any lovely Canadian listeners tonight, we love you. You gave us Avril Lavigne. So
You're the best.
Clearly, you guys have the far superior gene pool to us.
Sorry, Canada's canceled. They have Justin Trudeau.
You know, Justin Bieber and Avril Lavigne are actually distant cousins.
Really?
There's your Avril
'cause they're
Lavigne.
Canadian.
It's your Avril Lavigne trivia of the
I
day.
feel
Everyone's
so
related to one another when they're
sorry
Canadian.
for-
No offense.
But anyway,
Oh, that takes the Canadian cousin jokes to a whole new level. I'm sorry.
oh,
I'm
good
just
lord. Okay.
adding to my arsenal of things that I can use against the Canadians.
Moving on. So anyway, pterosaurs are up next. So pterosaurs, flying reptiles. Most people know them as pterodactyls, but the actual family name is pterosaurs.
Oh, darn my boys.
I'm just pretentious like that. But anyway, pterosaur sightings have actually occurred all over the world for a very long time.
But couldn't they just be birds?
Well, we're going to talk about that when we get into the evidence.
I feel
But-
like they're just birds. I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and throw my vote. This isn't real.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right.
So we're skipping that then.
So-
No.
Sorry, Canadians and birds are canceled.
So anyway, pterosaurs have been sighted all over the world, but a couple of hotbeds that I found when I was doing my research seem to be in the Oceania area, over in like Papua New Guinea and the Philippines and Indonesia and over there, Central and South America, and oddly enough, the southwestern United States.
I believe it. They're crazy down there. They'd see it and they'd be like, shoot it out of the air.
I mean, a wig.
So anyway, to get into some actual sightings here. So I have quite a few here. There were a lot of pterosaur sightings that I looked up. Some of them were a little sketchier than others. Most of them that, just getting into what Maggie was saying, most of them that I found were just people said like, oh, I saw a big thing flying through the air and I couldn't tell what it was. So a lot of them seem a little sketch, but a
Low-key
couple of them here that really spoke to me.
They really
So,
just came out of the page
this,
and
this
just like
first
grabbed
one-
you like a Canadian grabs the air.
This first one here comes from the Philippines. It's from 2006. A large bat-like creature with an estimated 20-foot wingspan was sighted in the Philippines in 2006. It was seen flying over a small little community, which seems a little scary. Hey, Kirsten, can you do me a favor and see what those guys want?
Yeah.
Sorry, there are some guys hanging outside the station right now. Might as well see what they want. So, anyway, yeah. Everything cool?
They want flyers to be advertised.
Okay, yeah. We'll hang them up after we're done.
Well, hang
Sorry,
Oh, you mean the
that
thing
was,
that's happening
That was
tonight.
kind of awkward.
That crazy Halloween party. Man, they're salesmen.
Right, that I was going to go to tonight, but then I got sick.
I wasn't planning on it anyways.
I'm sorry.
I've
But
never been to a
anyway.
party, so I wanted to go.
I don't. Not a party person at all. Birthday
But-
parties are out. Sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway. So a large bat-like creature was seen in the Philippines in 2006, rocking a 20-foot wingspan, which is, again, it could be confirmation bias, but if
A plane.
that's true, that's larger than any bird we know of today. So, hey, could be anything. So next one here comes from Cuba in 1965, and this was a family who sighted this. This was in a large open field with some really tall grass, and they said that they saw a bird-like head peek itself like out of the grass, look around for a little bit, and then the creature flew away with these big leathery bat wings.
Okay, but like feathers can also look like leather.
You're not even gonna let me get to the evidence, are you?
No, I'm not.
Why do you hate this already?
I don't know. I get the feeling that it's not legit. You know, whereas the last boy, I thought we were like, yeah, that's a unit.
Well, I'm gonna laugh if they're like the opposite, and the other one was true, and this one's or the other one's false, and this one's true, and she's like,
I don't know. I'm getting the feeling that the pterosaurs are they're out.
Well, I got 2 more eyewitness accounts to talk about here, so can we at least get through these?
Yeah.
So anyway,
Maggie's gonna flip something.
in 1992, a 5-foot-tall creature with leathery wings was sighted flying off of a rooftop in South Africa. So, hey, they listen to us in South Africa. So
yeah. So this is you guys.
this one goes out to all
Tweet
of our
us if you've
South
seen a
African-
pterosaur.
If you've seen a pterosaur, please tweet us.
Yeah, give us
And
tweets.
our final one comes from Arkansas in 2011, and I'm not even going to talk about this one because we know it was just a flying possum, right?
I love the flying
come
possums.
on.
I love the flying possums.
I don't understand.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that's a
Yeah,
bit
Maggie
of an in
didn't see
joke.
that. Forgot
That's a
about
bit of an
that.
in joke here on Let's Talk Dinosaurs. You see, back in the day when pterosaur fossils were first uncovered, early paleontologists thought that they were flying possums.
Big mood.
Yeah.
The pictures are even funnier. They made me laugh so hard. They're icons.
So
want one to
anyway,
pet.
yeah, a giant bird-like creature with leathery bat wings flew over a family's front yard in Arkansas in 2011. So let's get into the evidence for and against. So sightings continue throughout the world to this day. So I think the sheer number of sightings can at least indicate that something is going on. And it would also... Yes, Maggie?
Birds still exist, though.
Thank you, Maggie. So...
PSA. Birds still exist.
And it would also be very easy for a population of flying creatures to avoid detection. So...
Yeah, Maggie.
There's
You know,
that.
like birds.
But...
We're discovering new species of birds every day. So, like, why can't one just have leathery wings?
Let's get into the evidence against
Billy's
here.
over, Maggie. He's like,
Yeah.
you're fired. Get out.
Let's get into the evidence against Maggie. This is very easy to hoax. I put on here on our outline, this is a real famous image right here of some Civil War guys, like hovering over a dead pteranodon. Mm-hmm. That's fake. You see this
Yeah,
image
it looks
everywhere. It's totally fake. I know that exact pteranodon that's in that photo is actually on display in a cryptozoology museum somewhere. So,
Boom.
yeah. It's the
Maggie's
that's
like,
fake. So
proved it, solved
these are
it.
very easy to hoax. And finally, this one's for you, Maggie. It is very easy to mistake a large bird for a pterosaur.
Exactly. Leather wings? Sorry, they're just feathers.
So Maggie's team fake on this one. What are you, Kirsten?
I believe
team?
it.
Okay.
Oh,
I believe
I
it.
am just 100% against.
What do you think, Billy?
I'm team real just to spite Maggie.
Yeah, me too.
So-
Like my belief in it intensified when she was like, "Nope, fake." I'm like, okay, we're doing this.
And
Sorry, it's fake.
our fourth and final one here, and I've been looking forward to this one because this is my favorite one, actually. Like, this is the one that I am most leaning towards being real. And this one is coming to us from Australia. Crikey.
Can I just say something really funny?
Yeah.
Okay, so like this picture right here.
Yeah, I don't know why that guy's so fat. I'm very sorry.
No, it's like his head looks like it's the dinosaur.
Oh, geez, Maggie. So, yeah, I put this little picture of the dinosaur, like, scaled up to a human on our outline, and this human that they have scaled next to it is not only a little pudgy, but he kind of looks like the dinosaur's head might be his head, so...
Maggie's getting a real kick out of that.
I was very tired when I typed this up last night, okay? So, anyway,
Dinosaur looks like it's like put on like one of those like pug costumes where it looks like it has to.
Or like one of those big one of those big dinosaur heads from Walmart.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, this is this creature is called the Boranjor, and this is another meat eater, and it's been sighted in Australia. So, but here's the thing: is that it's been sighted just like the Mokele Mbembe, which has been sighted by native tribes forever. This has been sighted by Aboriginals in the Australian territory for centuries, and it's been depicted in numerous tribal like paintings and artwork.
I believe it.
And the Aboriginals.
Here we go.
The Aboriginals say that these things are very aggressive and very territorial, and
would
that they'll
assume so.
they'll actively hunt kangaroos and all kinds of stuff. I mean, emus are pretty big. That'd feed them for like a week.
Yeah.
Big
But,
mood.
Anyway, but just like with all the other dinos we've talked about, the size estimates are very inconsistent.
Yeah, seems
Okay,
like a
but, like,
trend.
Couldn't like babies of these things exist?
Yeah, but there are also sightings that have said this thing is like 50 feet tall.
Well, yeah, but
and-
then that's just crazy people. I mean, we have plenty of those. I mean, look at the Canadians.
Yeah. Well, I think just sensationalism and adrenaline is to blame for
I
the
saw
size.
Bigfoot, and he
Probably.
was the size of a redwood tree out in California.
Man, Brandine and I, we was out there on the porch the other night. Flying possum done come right up. So you know what I did? I pulled out my Magnum. I shot it dead. All right, and then I done throwed it in my freezer. All right, I called up my neighbor. I say, Floyd, we done bagged us a flying possum. All right, man, throw out that beaver. We done got us a flying possum, Floyd. We's eating good for the next
That's
week.
the one accent you do that I actually enjoy without jealousy or envy.
Me at 3 a.m.
That doesn't even make sense. But anyway, back to
She's a
Australia.
millennial. She's a millennial. That's the difference.
She's Gen Z. She's been over here saying
Oh, yeah,
good
Gen
mood
Z.
the whole night.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
so,
yeah, she's
you're
Gen
a
Z.
Gen Z too.
We
it's very debatable because like I looked up more lists and
Yeah.
some of them say that 1996 is like the cutoff. And,
I've also
you know,
seen like
look, can we just agree?
2004.
Can we just agree that millennials and Gen Z are both terrible?
I
Yes.
mean, yeah,
we're all awful.
Yeah.
which is why we should all go into a mass extinction. But that's going to happen within 37 years anyway. I mean, look at
Okay, we're running out of time. So anyway,
Dinosaurs.
so sightings. So the first big sighting was by a group of Australian farmers in 1950, and they said that this thing was breaking into their land and brutally like slaughtering cows
Yeah.
in the night. And like there were sections of their fences that were torn out, and they were finding huge not like huge, but good sized clawed footprints.
I mean, like ones that you're like,
all over their
oh,
land, like too big to be an emu.
yeah.
And it was killing and eating things. And out in those parts of Australia, the only animals that would kill livestock are dingoes,
Which are not that
No,
big.
dingoes are basically just like
dogs.
They're dogs. They're about the size of a wolf, maybe a little smaller. But the thing about dingoes is that they would never attack a cow. So that's a little interesting.
okay,
So,
but like, what if one had mange?
you mean rabies?
No, mange. Mange also does the same thing.
Well, I don't think they'd be able to slaughter cows like on the level that these cows would.
Especially
Okay,
doing it by
maybe not.
themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, just saying though.
So anyway,
There's a way.
these farmers mounted a search party. So they went out into the woods armed to the teeth. They were on horseback and they were guided by a huge pack of hunting dogs. And just heads up, no dogs die in this story.
Okay, great.
So,
Hey, thank you. Do horses though?
Yeah, no animals die.
Okay.
So-
I mean, like all the humans can die, but
Yeah, the
sorry.
second a dog dies, I'm just like, well, screw Australia.
Exactly.
Anyway, so
Australia
anyway-
is canceled.
So anyway, they went out into the Australian bush completely armed to the teeth, just ready to blow this thing into next Thursday. But eventually, they got into a really dense and swampy part of the woods. And at this point, this is where it gets weird. The dogs and the horses wouldn't go any farther. They stopped right there. They would not go farther, which a little thing about predatory animals is that they'll pee to like mark the scent around
Yeah.
their territory.
Yeah.
So the scent of a big predator in the area would probably cue in these dogs and these horses like, we're not doing this. Sorry, boys.
No way, I didn't sign up for this.
This ain't
the,
it, Chief.
the farmers, like a true Aussie battler,
Oh,
they were pretty stubborn, and they trekked on into the bush by themselves.
Those are Australians for you.
Eventually, they came across this thing, and again, very inconsistent with how big it was, but let's just say it was big. It was about a little bit bigger than their horses.
It was a big
and they
boy.
said this thing came within a few meters of them and let out a terrifying, really high-pitched cry.
You have a typo.
I do?
Oh my
Yep.
lord.
Look at the first sentence.
The beat. It was a giant beat. A giant beat.
Sneezed on the beat. And
I
the
was
beat got
I was
sicker.
very tired when I typed this, okay? Sue me.
Very
So
funny.
anyway, obviously the farmers ran off with their tails between their legs.
Right. I mean, I would
As
too.
anyone would. I mean, if any animal ran out of the woods and started screeching at me, I'd run away.
Especially if it had teeth that were
Yeah.
probably going to chomp my head in between them. I would be.
So
very
this next
upset.
one here, nobody actually saw anything here, but this story creeps me the heck out.
Ooh, let's do it.
So this was in 1978. A man named Brian Clark went missing in the Australian wilderness. So a group of local authorities, along with
Bless you.
some Aboriginal
Thank you.
trackers, which, man, between this and the Partridge Creek with the Native Americans, a lot of native trackers show up in these stories.
Yeah.
But I digress. So this group went out into the woods to find him, and eventually they came into a deeper part of the woods again. And the Aboriginals, they said, no, let's not go any farther here, because they insisted if he went into this part of the woods, he's dead already. Because they know about the creature, because it's existed in their folklore for
That was
centuries.
the local authorities?
No, this was the Aboriginal trackers
Oh,
that
okay,
were saying
okay.
that,
Yeah,
let's-
don't do that.
let's not go in here. But, of course, the authorities, look, cops are stubborn enough, but these were
Yeah.
Australian cops.
Oh, yeah,
So,
that's
clearly there
even
was no
worse.
changing their minds. So they went out into the woods, and they didn't find this guy, and it got to be nighttime. So they set up camp. And that night, they were woken up by some very loud rumbling in the woods and some really, really scary hissing sounds.
Ooh.
And there are a lot of monitor lizards and venomous snakes in Australia, but according to these guys who were there, this wasn't a snake or a lizard. This was like really deep, really, really loud, like yeah. And a lot of the times when reptiles will do that, that's not like an aggressive thing. That's just like a, hey, get out of my territory
Yeah.
kind of thing. So they woke up and they ran screaming into the woods. And wouldn't you know, while they were running away, they ran right into this Brian Clark guy because he actually heard them screaming and followed
That
the
is
noise.
so funny. I love that.
And they went back to town, but they told this guy that if you go into those woods again, you're on your own.
Dang.
So
That's
that's
okay.
a pretty spooky story. And the final sighting of this thing was in 1985. And this was a family on vacation in the Australian woods. We're out just driving through the wilderness. And they came across two of these things in an open field. And they said they were brownish in color and had leathery skin, but the feathers again. They
Yeah.
had feathers like running down their back. Like they had a
Ooh.
mane of feathers. Which actually lines up with what we know about meat-eating dinosaurs. Is how they weren't entirely feathered, but they would have had feathers like in places on their
Yeah,
body. So
that like sounds like it
that's
would look sick.
pretty interesting. But anyway, the
like a
family,
mohawk.
Yeah.
only as a couple of idiot tourists would do, pulled over on the side of the road and
Oh my
watched
Lord.
these two titanic predators for a while. And this was the 80s. This was before Jurassic Park.
Ooh,
they watched
this was
them
the
for,
inspiration.
they watched them for about 20 minutes before they went off into the woods. So let's get into the evidence for and against. And there's a lot of evidence for this thing. So big one, feathers. Again, the most recent sighting was in the 80s. This was about a decade before we knew dinosaurs had feathers. It's
very convincing.
So, very convincing.
Yeah.
And again, Aboriginal folklore supports this. And it's not like the Mokele Mbembe where they don't have like drawings of this thing. No, this thing exists in like tribal paintings and artwork of the Aboriginal tribes out in the region. So hey, that's
Yeah.
pretty creepy for me. That at least makes me think that there was something.
Yeah.
Like it might be extinct, but there was something at some point that the Aboriginals saw.
Yeah.
And finally, or not finally, but a big one here is that the Australian outback is a very large and remote place. A lot of it remains unexplored. A lot of it's uninhabitable. Like
Yeah.
the landscape out there is so hostile, humans can't survive.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of places to hide. And finally, and this is the big one for me, there's a real known dinosaur that was native to Australia. It was called the Australovenator. And it was native to Australia, and this thing is creepily similar to the Boronjor. It's about the right size, it's a carnivore, and what's really scary about this thing, it was from a family of dinosaurs called the Megaraptors, and they weren't true raptors, they weren't actually raptors, but how they get their name is true raptors have like a sickle-shaped killing claw on their feet.
Yeah. Ooh,
big
Megaraptors have a giant scythe claw on their hand.
Ooh, okay.
Like two of their fingers will be normal, but like their one, whatever this finger is called.
Index
Pointer
finger.
Yeah, their index finger has like these gigantic claws on it. So
Alright.
they're like they're like a Wolverine raptor.
That's what I want to be when I
So-
grow up.
An Australovenator.
The whole thing.
But anyway, not only was this thing native to Australia, but as of right now, it's the biggest carnivore ever known to live in Australia. So
okay.
it's about 6 feet tall and about 20 feet long. So that adds up with what these sightings here was like. This would still, it's big enough to kill a cow.
Yeah.
So that adds up. I would be pretty scared if I saw this thing. But let's get into the sad parts. So this thing hasn't been sighted in over 30 years.
Okay, but couldn't they just like relocate?
They could. And also on top of that, it's very weird that no remains have been discovered.
That is a little weird.
Especially since the Aboriginals claimed to have seen these things all the time back in their day. You'd think they would have had bones or like tooth necklaces. I don't know. I don't know if the Aboriginals were big into like tooth necklaces. Like
Maybe
some
it was like
No,
an
they
evil
weren't.
entity that they were like,
Gotta stay away
Those
from
bones
that.
are bad luck or something like that. I
Here's
don't
a weird
know.
thing is that the Aboriginals, creatures that they considered to be evil entities, and I looked this up, is that creatures that they considered to be evil entities, they actually did not depict in paintings. Because they believed that the spirit would live on through their art.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
that's true.
So this thing they did
Okay.
depict in portraits.
Maybe it's like
and
a
stuff.
protector or something
So
like that.
Yeah, like
that's
what if
very true because like some cultures viewed like wolves and mountain lions as protectors.
Yeah.
So they could have viewed this thing as like some sort of a guardian.
Yeah.
But generally they said it was a pretty nasty creature. You didn't want to go anywhere near it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and this one I'm gonna come right out and say it. This one's real.
Yeah,
I think it's real.
This one's definitely
We're all
real.
agreeing?
100%.
Yeah, we're all agreeing.
Unlike
I think it's
the,
real.
unlike the pterosaurs.
That's why. This
I
is
don't
another
think-
reason why I'm never going to Australia.
I don't. Yeah, as if
Oh, I am
Australia,
going to Australia.
As if
I'm-
Australia couldn't get scary enough. They've got freaking dinosaurs right
Yeah,
now.
I don't
See,
I believe
mean,
it.
I want to
I
be
don't know if
scared
it's.
by one.
I don't know if it's still alive, but I feel like
It definitely was.
they at least there at least was something.
Yeah.
Like I said, like those farmers, they said this thing was taking out sections of their fences and tearing cows to shreds.
I believe it.
So
Yeah, I mean,
It's real.
Yeah.
I believe it 100%.
Yep.
It's a real thing.
Yep. Going to Australia, my bags are already packed.
Nope. Never.
Yeah, no, I'm
No.
I'm not.
I'm out.
I'm gonna go.
Let's go to the Yukon instead.
Yeah, I'll be out in the
Canadian
outback.
lover.
And this thing will come right up to me. I'll just be like, "Crikey, Struce.
Oh my lord. Take
Come
off
on,
my
mate,
headphones.
mate, let's talk this through. Come on, I'll take you to take you to Hungry Jack's, spoil you a blooming onion. I'll do whatever you want, mate."
I am jealous of how you can do these voices.
Me too. That's why I get so
Well,
mad.
you know-
It's 'cause
Yeah,
I
I'm
get
like,
jealous.
bruh.
The thing is, I watched a lot of Steve Irwin growing up.
I did too, and I love him.
Eventually, you pick up a thing or two.
I would marry him.
It's all about practice.
Well,
become
you know, I wouldn't be opposed to marrying his daughter, but she's engaged to that Chad-looking dude. So
That Chad-looking dude.
yeah, we like the word Chad.
Yeah,
here.
we do. I
I mean, how
It's
about the
fun.
Stacy word?
don't know how I feel about Stacy.
How do you feel about Stacy?
I-
Chad and Stacy?
Is Stacy like the female?
Yeah, it's a female version of
Yeah.
Chad.
Yeah, you know, like the long blonde hair, tan skin.
I think Brittany should be the female.
I was
version
thinking.
of
What was I
Chad.
thinking? I don't remember what I was thinking.
It's Brittany. Blank.
Don't be like me.
Yeah, no, I don't want to get canceled.
Yeah, no. By the way, Matt already told me your severance package.
Yeah.
We're gonna be giving you some vouchers for the bookstore.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what money do we have? We could buy a couch with that.
Yeah.
But anyway, wow, we somehow actually managed to fill up the full hour.
It's because I'm here and keep saying like millennial stuff and like
Millennial stuff.
yeah.
Well, and we had a lot of ground to cover tonight. Like
I was
normally
literally
our
4 pages.
outlines, like our
Right.
outlines are usually around 4 pages, but normally there's less like words.
And
I really
I looked
enjoy
at the
this.
clock, and we were still talking about the first one in the
Like
first
20
30 minutes.
minutes
Like,
in, so-
yeah, I was
almost.
scared.
So anyway,
Yes.
thank you guys very much for listening.
Thank
yeah,
you so
can
much.
I plug myself again?
Oh, please, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
go for
so
it.
things_unknown_ on Twitter. Thanks. Hit me up with any requests for the ghosty things, and I'll try to get to it. You can also live tweet me during the show. I will very much appreciate it. My personal is Gyari_, which is like GYAARI_. So yeah, any of those, hit me up, and I'll get back to you.
All right, and special thanks to Maggie for coming in to guest host with us today. It was a
Thanks.
lot of fun.
Spoiler alerts. We don't exist actually, and we're all ghosts.
Oh,
Yeah, I was actually one of those farmers that was killed by the boar and Jor.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean,
I believe it.
I'm actually
I'm the reindeer.
Parker Creek.
I'm the reindeer that was killed.
Yeah,
Yes.
guys, thank you very much for listening. You can follow our social medias. We're at Let's Talk Dinosaurs on Twitter and at Let's Talk Dinos on Instagram. So as always, I am South Africa's sweetheart, Billy Reed.
I am Kirsten Fraze.